Tom Cruise's Reacher actually did one thing better than Alan Ritchson's version. As one of the most iconic action stars of all time, it's hard to imagine another actor playing a role better than Tom Cruise did. However, when it comes to the extremely popular Jack Reacher franchise, fans of the original novels by Lee Child are unanimous that Alan Ritchson is the actor best suited for the role of the eponymous character. As scintillating as Cruise has been in action franchises like The Mission Impossible films, there really isn't a contest regarding Reacher, since even Lee Child has famously confirmed he prefers Ritchson to Cruise. The character is known for his physical attributes, but he also has a broad appeal because of his nuanced backstory, intellectual abilities, and unorthodox lifestyle. Far from just being a one-dimensional, intimidating brute character who relies on physicality, Jack Reacher has burgeoned into a complex character with plenty of depth that makes him compelling for a variety of reasons. While Alan Ritchson certainly ticks every box required for a well-rounded iteration of the character, that doesn't mean Tom Cruise was a complete flop in the role. To hardcore Reacher fans, this may be an unpopular opinion, but there's one aspect of the character Tom Cruise's version was actually better at. Jack Reacher is an ex-military police officer and served most of his adult life in the Army after growing up on military bases, since his father was a Marine. Despite his decorated career and stellar reputation as a commander and brilliant investigator, his intractable nature made him enemies, which eventually caused him to turn his back on the Army in favor of living something of a nomadic life with hermit-like tendencies. Physically, the novels describe Reacher as a powerhouse, standing at 6'5", weighing 250 pounds, with hands the size of dinner plates. He's easily the biggest and most intimidating man in any room and backs up his size with deadly skills and ruthless proficiency with an array of weaponry and other tactics. His physical attributes alone already make it obvious why Alan Ritchson was a superb choice, since the native North Dakotan actor almost matches Reacher's weight and height to a T, since he's 6'2" and weighs around 230 pounds. On the other hand, Tom Cruise's physical fitness and conditioning are well known from the fact that he performs his own death-defying stunts. However, there's just no getting away from the fact that he stands at just 5'7" and weighs approximately 148 pounds. That makes him tiny compared to what Reacher is meant to look like. However, physical stature isn't the only attribute the character has. The one thing Cruise does better. Alan Ritchson has perfectly embodied the physical standards of Jack Reacher. That being said, he's also been pretty great at portraying Reacher's sharp mind, detective skills, and brooding persona. However, while Reacher has been praised for sticking closely to the source material, the show often places a lot of emphasis on his physicality. The appeal is understandable, since Ritchson's physique makes him look like he's carved out of granite. When you have that to work with, the temptation to utilize full-throttle action, brutish fight sequences, and scenes that highlight raw strength is only natural. However, the downside is that Ritchson's colossal size and strength can make his intellectual scenes seem slightly contrived. He does a great job with them, but an almost unconscious stereotype bias makes his physical size seem incompatible with the character's cerebral brilliance at times, at least compared to Cruise. Seeing Ritchson's version of Jack Reacher tossing people around like rag dolls makes you half expect him to say things like Hulk smash, instead of the highbrow deductive reasoning he often employs when figuring out complex clues. Of course, Ritchson doesn't do a bad job in his scenes, but Cruise has the edge in this instance. Tom Cruise's more compact stature lent his version of Reacher a more realistic edge when he displays the character's propensity to Sherlock his way through seemingly random events and finds brilliant ways to piece together evidence most people wouldn't even think to look for. This congruence between the fighter and the detective nuances of the character is also a product of Cruise's proven acting skills. When Jack Reacher first hit theaters in 2012, fans of Lee Child's best-selling novels were immediately divided. Tom Cruise, who played the titular character, seemed an unlikely choice to many. After all, in the books, Reacher is described as a hulking, physically imposing ex-military policeman standing 6'5" with hands the size of dinner plates. Cruise, on the other hand, is known for his action prowess, but his 5'7" frame was seen as a serious departure from the character fans had grown to love. Fast forward to 2022, and Alan Ritchson stepped into the role for Amazon Prime's Reacher series, a casting that seemed much closer to the mark physically. Ritchson, towering at 6'3" and possessing the muscular build more in line with Child's description, instantly resonated with the book's fans. However, while Ritchson's portrayal checked all the boxes in terms of physicality, there's one thing Tom Cruise's version of Reacher did better, embodying the psychological complexity and sheer charisma of the character in a way that was both captivating and multi-layered. Cruise's Reacher, more than just muscle. One of the most important aspects of Jack Reacher's character, beyond his size, is his mind. He's a thinker, a strategist, and someone who doesn't need to rely solely on brute force to achieve his goals. Tom Cruise's portrayal leaned into this aspect far more effectively than Alan Ritchson's version. While Ritchson's Reacher certainly reflects the intimidating physicality of the character, Cruise's Reacher exudes a quiet confidence and cerebral energy that goes beyond physical domination. In the 2012 Jack Reacher film, Cruise's character consistently outwits his opponents, using his intelligence as a weapon just as much as his fists. There's a scene early in the movie where Reacher walks into a bar and sizes up a group of men ready to attack him. Without throwing a punch, he dissects their weaknesses with a mix of humor and psychology. This moment, much more than any of his physical confrontations, captures Reacher's essence as a character who is always 10 steps ahead of everyone else in the room. Cruise's Reacher feels like someone who can control any situation, not just because of his physical strength, but because he understands people. He's a man of few words, but when he does speak, every line is sharp, biting, and deliberate. This layered complexity makes him dangerous in a way that extends beyond his stature, and it's this psychological edge that elevates his portrayal of Reacher. Charisma and presence. There's no denying that Tom Cruise is one of the most charismatic actors in Hollywood. Whether he's playing Ethan Hunt in The Mission, Impossible series, or Maverick in Top Gun, Cruise has a screen presence that commands attention. As Reacher, Cruise brought this same magnetic energy to the role. His portrayal wasn't about the size of his frame, but rather the intensity and focus he brought to the character. You never questioned that Cruise's Reacher could take down a room full of men twice his size because of how sure-footed and confident he was. Alan Ritchson, for all his physicality, lacks this particular kind of charisma. His Reacher is stoic, quiet, and brooding, which certainly fits the character's loner personality. However, where Cruise's Reacher drew you in with his intensity and charm, Ritchson's performance can at times feel one-dimensional. He plays Reacher as an unstoppable force, but without the same level of nuance that Cruise brought to the role. This isn't to say Ritchson's portrayal is without merit. He perfectly captures the physicality and no-nonsense attitude of the character. But in terms of sheer charisma, Cruise's Reacher had an edge that made him more engaging to watch. Psychological complexity. Another area where Cruise's Reacher shines is in portraying the character's internal conflict. In the novels, Reacher is a drifter, a man who lives by a strict moral code, but also harbors a deep sense of loneliness and isolation. Cruise's performance subtly hints at this inner turmoil. There's a sense of sadness and weariness that he carries, especially in quieter moments. You get the feeling that Cruise's Reacher is always thinking, always analyzing, but also wrestling with his own demons. Ritchson's Reacher, by comparison, comes across as more straightforward. He's a force of nature, and while the series,